Now, I'm going to come over here to this area that's called A Master. If you can see, there's an A already on every single one of these pages. Each page already has an A, which means by default, InDesign has put whatever settings are on this page, even though there's nothing on there, on these pages. So anything I add to this one, A Master, and if you look down here, it says 1, because that's what page I'm on. But now if I come over here and double click, I'm on this thing that says A Master right there, A. Okay? Anything I put on here is now going to show up on every other page. So what I want to put on here is a 3-column grid. Why not? Or a 2-column grid. Sure. All right, to do that, I'm going to do a 2-column grid. To do that, I'm simply going to use boxes. Drawing something really simple in InDesign here, I'm going to set up a box with an outline, a fill of none, and an outline of a color for now, so I can see it. And when I click away, I can see there's a box there. And again, this is loose. I'm not going to overindulge in the technical parts right now. I just want to show you the premise here. And I'm going to put another box. And again, I'm on the master page. If I, for some reason, thought it was a really good idea to have that on every page, if I go into my pages panel and I start looking at every page, ew, it has box on it. I definitely don't want a box like that on the page. Why I did that was to make it easy for me to visualize. We got locked there. To visualize my columns that I want to use or set up. So I'm setting this box here. Now on the far right side here is a ruler and one at the top, one at the left and one at the right. And those come from here under View. This is hide rulers, now they're gone. View and show rulers, now they're showing. And I'm going to click in this leftmost ruler and drop a ruler guide right here on the edge of that box and another one on the edge of this box. And now I'll delete, I don't need the text box, and I'll delete this other box. And now I have just those little lines there, which will indicate to me where my columns should be. Switch back to my pages panel, back to my pages themselves, and something went awry there. I'm going to move this back up into the right spot and close this panel. And now I can just drag this edge of my text box up to the line. And this is where I'll put my imagery. All right, so I'll go to the next one. Okay, I think when I deleted the automatic text box, it didn't like it, and it didn't like that I was breaking rules and rebelling against the system that it had set up before my birth. But I am a rebel, and therefore I must rail against these types of constraints. All right, so yeah, that's pretty boring, going through every single page. Fortunately, it is not long, and the article ends right there, so that's a good thing. I'm going to take that out. Okay? All right. So yes, I do have to go through and find every headline and mark it with the right font. So here's the one for second house, but if I double click, I can select one word. If I triple click, I can select a sentence, and then I'll place header on that. I may want to make some adjustments to the size, but first I'm going to go through and find all these, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, do it, header, and 2 sentences, 1, 2, 3, 4, header. It's always good to have a proofreader around in your life, header. Okay. There was a time when this would take me all day. It would be so scary. I'd be like, what am I doing? Still seems like that sometimes. Okay, header. And that looks like it, except there's a 10th house there. And I know there's 12 houses, so it can't be it. Now, what I'm about to tell you is really important. If I see that there is a little arrow here, it means that this article is continuing somewhere, and somehow an extra page got inserted in there, probably in my wild clicking. So I don't want that to happen. I'm moving this up. You can see I can just drag it up. I could have deleted a page, but I chose not to. And then this one lines up. Some weirdness occurred. Okay, so I don't want to keep playing that game, so I'm going to go over to the Pages panel. Now from the Pages panel, I'm going to open it up larger, and then I'm going to show you here in this flyout menu, under Panel Options, I can set the icons of the pages up to jumbo and click OK. And now I can see where that stray pages, select it, delete it, and now, okay. Now, I watch an inordinate amount of how-to videos, probably more than a lot of people do, but in my job, I have to learn new stuff every day. I have found, for me, the best way of learning software is to watch other people use it, so I hope that this is helpful to you. So this is now finally all lined up where I want it. Questionable, did I get all those headlines? I did not. Right, there's one here. There it goes. Header. And you can set key commands for these. That looks like a big thing there. A second accentuation, so I'm going to put big header there. That seems a little too big, but okay. What the heck? And here's another one, the quadrants. That looks like a giant one here. Let's do that. All right. I'm going to stop there because it's getting very tedious and you need to see a few other things here so that we can move on. So now I've decided that as I look through this document, I like the proportions that I set up, but I'm kind of concerned about the 2-line headlines. Do I want to keep that? Like, this is getting very lengthy. So if I go to the headline or header text over here, I'm making sure nothing is selected. Clicking away, really, nothing is selected. No text box is selected. No paragraph styles are selected. Then I'm going to go to double click on header, and I'm going to choose basic character formats and bring that down from 18. I'm watching this and seeing when that goes on to 2 lines. There. So now it's at 17. Now this one looks kind of weird on 2 lines. Maybe I want it to be 16. And I think I'll stop there. Okay, I'm going to leave it at 16. So I did make it somewhat smaller. And then I would want to read through each one of these and put a break on here that looks like a natural break. So I don't want that to be the magenta situation. Moving on in InDesign, looking at this document on screen with all those lines on there is not a very natural way of reading something you're looking at it. So over here, I'm going to come down to the bottom of the panel, and I'm going to click on this tiny button and hold it, and I'm going to choose the choice from normal, which is what I'm on, to preview. And that will hide all the extra lines. And so now I can get a much better idea of how my document feels, and it's starting to have some sense of hierarchy and balance to it, and some flow. Okay. Everything is aligning properly, and I have a 2:3 or golden ratio layout here. Some places I can see there's still some long lines, some 3-line headers, and I think I do want to close that up. So I'll double click header, and again I'll go to basic character and bring it down to 15, and hopefully there won't be any more 3-liners. I also feel like 20 points is too high for that. Now I'm going to set this on solid, so that'll be 15, 15. And when I click preview on and off, I can see now it's on 15, 15, and the headlines are really now feeling like they pop out. They have that emphasis. Sometimes when you're really zoomed out like that, it's hard to see the letter spacing well. But some of this letter spacing feels a little bit tight to me, like the A and the B. Okay, So in the typeface itself, for the header, I want there to be balance. I want there to be use of white space. The white space between each one of these letters is as important to me as a designer as the white space in the entire document. So to deal with this one character here, if I only see that happening a few little places, I can hand kern this. Kerning means the space between individual letters, K-E-R-N-I-N-G, and that's also letter spacing, kerning, K-E-R-N-I-N-G, or letter spacing. And tracking is the tracking of space across an entire word or sentence. I'm just going to hand kern this. So I'm on the character panel here, and I'm going to kern this using this one right up here. This is space or letter space, and I'm pushing the up button, and now, yeah, that does look better. And I've put a 40. That's what went in there, a 40. So here's a question. If I take this out, put it back to 0, it's out now, and then I go back to my header style. Let's click off and make sure this is actually not header plus. I'm going to click on it or come to this flyout menu, and I'm going to do clear override so there's no wonkiness, no more plus. And then I'm going to change a setting. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to go to character formats and tracking, okay? And I'm going to set the tracking to 40. Which is going to set that letter spacing between every character. And I can see if I think that's a good idea or not. And no, I think that looks hideous. See those holes in there? That's not nice. Okay. Do I want to maybe just have a little tracking? There's 10. Is that a helpful thing? Or is it just, oh, that's 0. That's 10. Is that a helpful thing? Or... yeah, that might be a good thing. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep that because I thought some of these letters were really close together. So maybe that will save me some kerning. But the truth is that it would be likely if this person is paying me a reasonable amount of money, then I need to go and look at this typeface and fix things. You really are not supposed to just leave it like that. If you're a good type designer or a good designer overall, you'll be able to see that the space between the E and the F and the space between the N and the I are not balanced. That's because this is a free typeface. This typeface is not so well designed that you would necessarily want to use it for a large document if it is going to be really official. So I might be fine with doing this for something for a friend or for a flyer, you know, 4-year-old's birthday party, but not necessarily for something for the Wall Street Journal Interactive Edition. I probably should not use this font because it's not well designed. Inside of fonts, when the designer designs the font, they are supposed to set up what are known as kerning pairs, which is the comparing and contrasting of the relationship between every letter next to every other letter. And so you can see that the distance between the E and the O isn't really as good as it is between the O and the P and the L. There's different spacing in between those letters that is not a good thing. So if I go back to this again and I take that out, come on, you can do it. The spacing, again, is going to be off, but it's kind of like you have to pick your poison. So I'm going to turn it off again, and I'm going to turn it off as soon as I find it again. Spacing, and I want my... feel free to shout out. I have landed on a dead brain cell here. Where did I put it? Huh. All right, I'm not going to change it. But I am going to do something else. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to change this font. It doesn't really look that bad, but if I go to header again, and I go to basic character formats again, and I change this from Folks Bold to something that's more standard and well designed, that's like an Adobe font, you're not going to see, even though I don't like Hobo as a font in my life, it's well designed. The spacing, look at the spacing between the letters. See how even it is? So much better than Folks Bold. You don't see all those crazy weird gaps. And in fact, what the heck? I'm going to keep it. Kudos to Hobo. All right, so I'm going to zoom out. So that's a little bit about what to expect when you're using non-professional fonts, things that you don't pay for, and a little bit about kerning and tracking. I could even still, because this font just runs larger, I could probably also still just squish it a little more, a little smaller, 14 on 15, and I'm going to live with that. All right, I'm going to save this document, file save, and stop recording for a moment. If you want to take a bathroom break, now is a really